Hey, I'm back with another episode of the Clean Money Podcast, and this episode is brought to you by Umeme City Rooftop Solar Simplified. If you're looking for solar solutions, these are the people to talk to. So, let's talk about income today. Everybody's looking for an income, but do we really understand what income is? Are there various types of income that we need to talk about, learn, and understand so that we can benefit from this? Well, today I'm joined by a financial coach. Thank you so much, Margaret, for being with us.
Thank you.
Income, this income thing. When we talk about income, what are we really talking about?
I will define income in very simple terms as a reward that you get for any service or any product that you actually make a sale on. So you could be giving a service, maybe you're washing somebody's car, and the money that you get, that is income. And I know income is broken into, are you having a salary, are you having a wage, depending on how it comes to you. So it could be trickling to you in a monthly basis, or it could be coming to you on a daily basis or on a task basis, depending on what you do.
When we hear income, we tie it to salary. And so the assumption would be, I don't have a job, I don't have a salary, so I don't have an income.
No. I think that's a big misconception. And because there are rewards that you get for giving a service or for selling a product. So, and that is why people say, kuna kazi. So you never imagine that you have something that you're doing. This mama mboga who sells sukuma wiki to us every day has income because she's able to buy, put a markup, and then she's able to get a profit. And that profit is income.
What about for the student?
Oh, great. Students are the most rich people. Those guys have a lot of income. Oh, yes. Do you know if you have students going to high school, they will not depart the house without some pocket money. And parents have a hard time, depending on where you take your kids to school. In fact, schools are having a challenge controlling how much pocket money students take to school. That is income. Uncle gives you money, you're going back to school because you passed by, and he says, oh, I heard from your dad your grades are good. That is income.
Do you think many of us really understand what the purpose of this income is?
Well, I tend to think that financial information is, the uptake of financial information is very low. Because we all tend to think that we know, but, and we have a big challenge. Because my brother did this or my neighbor did this, I tend to figure out that if I look at exactly what he is doing, I actually get to know everything about what he is doing. And so, in terms of income, a lot of people really don't know what they're supposed to do. They have, let me call it, low financial literacy. And so, income is supposed to help you, number one, meet your basic needs. Number two, you're supposed to invest part of that. Because you shouldn't consume everything that you make.
Why?
Because there's a rainy day. Though we do not call it a rainy day, because for a rainy day you need to buy an umbrella. But in terms of financial, you need to save for that bad day when income is not going to be so readily available. So we actually say that you should first save, then you pay your basic needs, and you also look at where you can invest your money. Those are three avenues where we actually need to train people. Now when you get income, don't just think that you need to budget all your expenses against that figure. So if you're earning 50,000 shillings, you tend to think that your rent, your school fees, your clothes, your medical should consume the total 50,000. And that is where we go wrong. Because you should first save 10% of your income. In fact, then we should say 20, because 10 belongs to God. And another 10 belongs for that future that you're looking forward to.
Is that different from what I hear people saying when they talk about paying yourself first, or is it the same thing?
Exactly, it is that is what we're talking about. You're supposed to pay yourself first, but because you're actually getting paid, you never understand why you need to pay yourself. But you need to pay yourself so that you put that money aside for the day that you may not be able to go to work. For the day you may not be having that job.
Many of us look at it from this angle that I've received my pay, I go look for that kukusama.
I tell you.
We say kuambia mwili pole. Or I buy myself that nice dress, or I buy myself that expensive pair of shoes. I've paid myself.
Well, yes and no. But remember, when you buy a dress or when you buy a shoe, that's a consumable. really tomorrow, if you are looking for something to safeguard you against some mishap, that shoe will not.
Yes.
Because one of the things we are saying is that even if you have bought Timberlands, so that shoe will say depreciates. The cost of that shoe after a week is totally, the value is totally very different.
Yeah.
But so you need to thank yourself. I'm not saying that we get mean to our own self, but we need to do it within the parameters of financial information.
Okay.
Because what happens is if you don't put anything aside for tomorrow, then the day you're not able to work, the day you are declared redundant, and they say you should have some cash supply that can run your basic monthly cost for the next 6 months. Yes. It's a tough order.
It's a tough order, yeah, because I'm just thinking, how many people actually have that in place? Let's scrap even 6 months. Let's cut it into two.
Into two.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people have money for 3 months that if they lose their job today for the next 3 months, they'll be okay?
Very few. Less than 10% have that. Yeah, because one of the things that we do is that we live on the now.
Yes.
Tomorrow, and we love using scriptures that tomorrow will take care of itself.
When you look at your job contract, it says they're permanent.
Permanent and pensionable. and even those who work for projects, you're looking at 5 years.
Yes, that's a long time, man.
Yesterday I was telling somebody, do you know you're only guaranteed the period of that contract when God guarantees you life, that you can wake up the following day?
Yes.
So you could sign your contract,
and
in 1 year's time, you can't serve the 5 years, you're gone, or you're incapacitated. Sometimes we only think about death. We do not think about, let me call them natural calamities that can come. You could get some chronic illness which incapacitates you, and you may not be able to work. How are your children going to survive? And that's why you're saying you need to put an investment tomorrow, because that investment can be put in some financial asset that can guarantee that your children will go to school in your demise. So it's not about just yourself, it's about even those who depend on you.
Back to the whole salary income issue, where you to be talking about putting aside something for yourself. A good number of people I have this conversation with, the main issue or the main, let me call it an excuse for the purposes of what we are talking about. The main excuse is what I am getting, my income, my salary, is not even enough to meet my needs. I am one of those below the poverty line, so how do you even expect me to put something aside? What do you tell someone like that?
Number one, I need to say this. Nobody's salary is going to ever be enough to meet your basic needs. Jamo, let me tell you, what happens with man, the natural cow, is that the more I earn, the more my expenses will grow. And I'll give this scenario. When I probably started working, I probably was living in, the very self-contained, where you touch this way, it's a kitchen, and
this is my house.
This is it, exactly, yes. And that money was sufficient to run our supplies. We may not have had some money to put aside, but I can assure you, if you worked in an institution where they had a circle, and you joined the circle, you put at least 1,500 shillings into that circle, and life moved on. That was a saving. If you were in a better institution where there is a registered pension scheme, they probably removed like a 5% out of your 20,000 into the pension. And so you have a pension and you have a circle, and you're able to meet your basic needs. You've already started putting some savings aside. But what ordinarily happens is that if I start earning 50, I will move from my house to a one-bedroom house where I can walk from one room to the other. And when you actually increase that to 100,000, you even shift the estate and you shift to a different environment. And you're thinking, this is where I want to live. In fact, when you start, your children go to some standard of school. And when you get better, they start going to the group of schools. And the others are houses or something like that. So that is what happens. So salary will never, money will never be enough It is you who has to tell your money what it is going to do. And so I say that money hears. There's a language for money. You need to speak to your money.
I've put aside this 10%. What am I putting it aside for? And how do I build this thing?
There are many things you can do with the money that you put aside. Because there are investment opportunities, and you could also be putting this money in some, let me call it a pot, where you're trying to consolidate it to be enough to do something else.
Okay.
So you have like a holding account, where we say don't hold it for too long because money is also very tempting.
Oh yeah.
It's a wait and job. It keeps calling on you.
Keeps calling your name.
Please spend me. Please touch me. Money is very, is very warm.
Yes.
And so you need to get financial advisory on exactly what you need to invest in. And I keep saying that somebody needs to analyze you, your characteristics, your personality, because even the type of investments that you would want to put into, somebody needs to understand a bit of dynamics about you as an individual. Because they're short-term investments and the long-term investments.
Everybody's looking for a better salary. People are moving jobs because this one is paying better, this one is paying better. But I've seen scenarios where the messenger in the office who's getting what we would call peanuts, when you look at how much they are worth in terms of what they've been able to do with their money, is so much more compared to the manager in the big office.
Very true.
What creates that kind of a difference?
It's about where you put your money. A lot of us don't live our own lives. So because I'm a manager, there are certain expectations of people. People expect me to stay in a certain estate. People don't expect me to drive a small car. So because of that demand, if you're not careful, if you're not financially strict, you will live other people's lives.
Okay, let's talk about income and different types of income. What are some of the different types of income?
There are two categories of income. So it is passive income and active income. And active income is income that I derive by having to do the services or selling the products myself. I have to be there.
Actively involved.
Actively involved. If you are not there, Jemo, you make no money. Now for passive income, this is income that you are capable of making while you are absent. So it's totally the opposite of active income. And a lot of people have passive income based on investments they have made. That money that we say you save it, is part of really the foundation of you having passive income. Because passive income is money that you make despite your presence. Yes.
Is it important for an individual to have both, or is one sufficient?
We always begin with one. We begin with active income. And until you're able to put in some little savings, that is the only way you will start getting the avenue of going into passive income. It is very important that we get into both, because we say that money is not going to be enough. Your salary is never going to be enough. And so that you do not start thinking about pinching some money from your employer and you want to live with integrity, then we actually advise that start thinking about what you can do as side hustle. That's what they call it. But we are calling it passive income. Yes.
No, I was going to ask you that whether a side hustle is really passive income. Because when I look at a good number of side hustles that people are doing, they need to be there. I do my 8 to 5, then from 5 or 6 to whatever, I am in that shop of mine.
Sometimes there is a very thin line in some types of businesses between active income and passive income. Yes, but we know very well that if you have an 8 to 5 job, that is your active income channel. Your passive income just depends on exactly what you want to do. And a lot more times you find that somebody will grow their passive income and probably close down, resign from their active income and come and run what has been their side hustle. And what we're saying is that at that point, it will be active income. And so when you look at the 4 quadrant, you're an employee and then you probably want to go down to being a businessman. You're still actively involved. And until you get to the next quadrant where you're saying, I want to be an investor, I want to be in big business,
Mm.
and then you eventually become an investor. Where Robert Kiyosaki says that your money works for you even when you are asleep. So those are the 4 quadrants. So 2 of them you will be very, very involved. So it will be more active, but then you have just moved from being employed into employing yourself. But we're still saying that that is a channel for you to get in financial freedom.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Next time on Clean Money Wednesday.
How do we begin to move from active into this passive? That is what I would want us to look at on the next episode, and look at what are these avenues that are available for people to get onto this side of the field, and how can I start? Many times when I hear people speak about this from a Christian perspective, they usually use the example of the Garden of Eden and how it did not have one river, but it had several rivers. Why? Because you need several sources of income. But adventure, if one is dry, then you still survive because you have another alternative.
This is Clean Money TV.